Hey, Kyle is wonderful here again with another wrestling review. This time it's Impact Wrestling from July 14th, 2022. And pretty good show. Just ended. Not quite as good as last week's show. We got tons of great X Division matches. I might even consider that PCO Black Taurus match last week an X Division style match. Um, a little bit not as good as that. Also, I was a little bit let down. I was so excited for the Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie going into the undead realm. It kind of ended up just being a cheap little throwaway segment, but the storyline coming out of that was pretty cool. We also got to see another vignette about Killer Kelly. If you remember last week, it kind of ended on a cliffhanger, seemingly showing Killer Kelly as a SW or a lady of the night that likes seedy motels. And the last we saw of her was getting naked in the um, bathroom. Just from the we didn't see anything above the ankles. So anyway, we get a little bit more info about those tonight. Some good stuff happened, but let's start with BTI. While we watch BTI, we get a little bit of refresher about what happened last week, so I'll go into that as well. Especially if you missed last week, it's a good way to get caught up on what happened. So Josh Matthews starts BTI by telling us to watch BTI on our phones while driving. So Josh Matthews wants all of us to get in car accidents. Thank you. Josh Matthews is the absolute worst. Gia Miller is thankfully always with him. At least she's pretty good. So while BTI is on, I have it on my second TV where my PlayStation has YouTube. So I was watching BTI on YouTube. I had AXS TV on my regular TV, and it was showing the best of the Naturals of all things. If you don't remember the Naturals, they were a great tag team that didn't really get a lot of love in TNA. So pretty funny to see the Naturals on television in 2022 right before Impact starts. So anyway, on BTI they recap the great main event from last week where we got to see a pretty good portion of the match between Mia Yim and Deonna Purrazzo. If you remember, Mia Yim won that highly contested match. Great match. Definitely go watch that one. And that was a number one contendership match that now sets up Mia Yim versus Jordan Grace at Emergence, the next big event. Although there is some events this weekend, I'm still not quite sure if the Derby shows are Impact tapings or special events or what. But if they are special events, come back come back to the channel. I'll have them up eventually. It is going to be a busy weekend with the start of G1 tomorrow. So anyway, at the end of that, Jordan Grace came down to congratulate Mia Yim, and yeah, that'll be our title match, Knockouts title match at Emergence in Chicago at the about a month from now. Tonight on BTI, our special match will be Johnny Swinger versus Gujar. So that's going to be a decent match. If you remember, that one was set up last week by Brian Myers when both Swinger and Gujar wanted a match for Brian Myers' newly won Digital Media Impact champion. So that's almost a number one contendership match, but we do find out some more about that story on Impact later on. So tomorrow and Saturday, like I said, is the Derby City Rumble. I'm still kind of unsure. Maybe if you know, let me know in the comments if this is like a special event, like it's going to just be like something I can review, or if this is just Impact tapings with spoilers. I don't think it's Impact tapings, but I'm unsure at this point. But like I said, I've got a busy weekend with G1 starting. But if I can, I'll eventually find some time. I'll even lose sleep if I have to, so we can get the reviews up for Derby City Rumble. So anyway, definitely subscribe to the channel so you can find because I can't tell you when exactly those reviews are going to come up. So definitely give me a subscribe so you can check those out. Now we see a little bit of the recap of the Trey Miguel Laredo Kid match from last week. That was really good. The whole story of that match was Trey Miguel came in with a knee injury from his X Division title match, lost to Speedball Mike Bailey the week before at Against All Odds. So Trey was able to tough out to get a big win against Laredo Kid last week. That was a really good match. Then Josh tells us Mike Bailey wants to defend the X Division title every single week, and I definitely hope he does, but it's not going to be every week. We don't see a Mike Bailey match this week, but we do set up an X Division title match for next week. Sadly, no Alan Angels backstage segments or anything tonight either, so nothing new on the Alan Angels front. Mike Bailey hasn't had a bad match in all of 2022, so I love the fact that he wants to be a fighting champion. Because it doesn't seem like he's ever going to have a bad match. We see the ending of the match from last week where Speedball Mike Bailey defended and successfully defended against Alan Angels in his debut. So that was a really good match. Then after the match, if you remember, Diener and Doering took both men out. This sets up, and they show us in the recap, the return of Eric Young, who was mad that Joe Doering's no longer undefeated after EY was gone for only 2 weeks. So EY almost kicked Diener and Doering out last week, but then gave them one last chance and said, "Don't ever forget this world belongs to me." So it looks like Diener and Doering, or at least Diener, is on their last string. I can't stand Josh Matthews, but at least he's not on commentary anymore. So just having to see him on these BTIs isn't too bad. But all of his jokes completely fall flat. But at least G is great. So now we see the last half of the PCO Black Taurus match from last week. That match was awesome. PCI needs some kind of PWI award, like most improved or best comeback or something. Got to show this man some love for reinventing himself so late into his career. So Taurus also deserves some credit as well. And I've been talking about this on this channel. I believe we definitely need an X Division tag title. Just look at all the great tag teams we have in the X Division right now. We've got, you could put Taurus and Crazy Steve together, Motor City Machine Guns. You got Chris Bay and Austin. You could maybe bring Wentz back to reform the Rascals with Trey Miguel. And then just have Speedball Mike Bailey hold on to the X Division title and defend it like every other week in a banger match. So I wish that's what would happen if I was in charge of Impact. That's what I would do. Anyway, maybe even like a PCO and Vincent could be an X Division tag team, because PCO can wrestle that X Division style. So anyway, we also saw Heath returned last week after PCO beat Taurus and Heath took out Kenny King. We'll see more about that tonight on Impact. Then they showed that incredible flurry from last week, Rich Swann at the end of the match destroying Shira. That flurry was great. So even though that match was short, that little flurry at the end by Rich Swann was amazing. During most of these recap videos, I was keeping an eye on the Naturals over on AXS TV. They were definitely an underrated tag team in TNA. Most people just think of them as a joke tag team, but they were definitely more than that. From what I saw on that best of hour-long show, then they showed the Naturals versus Roderick Strong and Austin Aries, as well as the Naturals versus Team Canada. So that was pretty cool. Then we see our social media top 5 of the week. So 5 is, if you didn't hear, Kushida is making his debut at the Derby City Rumble, which is why I'm definitely going to be reviewing those. I'm a huge Kushida fan. Maybe we'll see him do something with his former Time Splitters partner, Alex Shelley. So that'll be awesome. Number 4 was Alan Angel's debut last week on Impact. He did a great job, had a great match. Alan Angels is only 24 years old and already a really, really great wrestler. So the sky's the limit for Alan Angels. Then number 3 was Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie deciding that they were going to go into the undead realm this week. Like I said, I was really looking forward to that segment. It was kind of a letdown. I was hoping for multiple segments throughout the night, but we only got one couple minute, maybe 3 minute long, kind of cheap with green screen behind them. I didn't really like it, but the story that they're going with seems pretty intriguing. So we'll get into that. Mia Yim versus Jordan Grace at Emergence being officially announced was number 2 for the social media top 5. And then your number 1 social media top 5, or the top number 1, is Killer Kelly coming soon. And the whole vignette last week, I haven't really heard too many people kind of call out that she looked like a lady of the night or an SW. Not to say that that's like a terrible thing, or even in real life a terrible thing. But what I said last week is I hope that Killer Kelly was fine with it and she wasn't forced into taking in this gimmick. It could have been either, Killer Kelly, you're going to have this gimmick or you're not going to have anything at all. So hopefully that's not the case. And this week it's maybe not an SW or a Lady of the Night type gimmick. It kind of was looks a little more involved than that. So it looks like a really good story is coming on the way with Killer Kelly, who's also great in the ring. She's got an MMA style. She's Portuguese, but can also speak fluent English. So going to be great stuff. I'm really looking forward, like I said, to the Rosemary stuff, but unfortunately, it didn't have multiple segments. So then our clap back of the week was Brian Myers talking trash to Zicky Dice. who's now with Johnny Swinger. That was when they were setting up the number one contendership match, which is the BTI match tonight. So Iceman intel wasn't very good. It was about violent by design, but he didn't tell us anything we didn't already know. He basically just plugged that tonight will be a 6-man tag that we set up last week, if you remember. Violent by Design versus Motor City Machine Guns and Impact World Champion Josh Alexander. So, but since all of that was already announced, great intel, Iceman. So anyway, here's our BTI match this week. It was Johnny Swinger out to a huge hometown pop. Zicky Dice is out there with him. So Bhupendir Gujar is out next to pretty good cheers as well. Gujar is undefeated in singles competition this year. So Johnny Swinger's got a tough task ahead of him. And this is what we thought was a number one contendership match for the Digital Media Championship, but we find out a little bit more later. So they start with some good grappling. They counter each other for a while until Gujar works a hammerlock on the arm. Swinger gets out of this, but then eats a drop kick immediately after by Gujar. So Swinger bails the ring to catch his breath. Gujar dives out of the ring, but not onto Swinger, right on the Zicky Dice for seemingly no reason. I don't think Zicky Dice had done anything in this match to deserve getting dove on like that. But anyway, Swinger's in big trouble right after this. So Zicky Dice gets up on the apron, and this allows Swinger to throw Gujar out of the ring. Swinger now distracts the ref while Zicky Dice hits a big vertical suplex on the mat outside of the ring onto Gujar. Back in the ring now, Zicky again gets involved with an eye rake while the ref was distracted. Swinger's now hitting strikes and playing up to the crowd, getting some boos now. Tom tells us an image I never wanted in my head, but he says Swinger might start an OnlyFans soon. So I can't get that out of my head now. Swinger has good facial reactions to everything he does. Great stuff from Swinger here. Swinger stays in control and drops a Kokeshi headbutt to the yam bags of Gujar. That was interesting. I popped on that one. Tom then tells us the 6-man tag match, Violent by Design versus the Guns and Alexander, will start Impact tonight. So right after this match, we'll be getting into that one on the start of regular Impact. Gujar then stays alive, kicking out of any covers. That's done on him. Gujar then dodges 2 double axe handles in a row and then blocks a punch that hits some strikes of his own. The crowd's rallying big time behind Gujar, who then hits a nice looking sling blade and then a ripcord knee strike. So good stuff here. Zicky gets on the apron again, but eats a super kick from Gujar. Gujar then hits Swinger with a Samoan drop for a 2 count. Gujar then goes for a power slam, but Zicky again saves Swinger. Swinger charges at Gujar, but Zicky is hit instead of Gujar. So Zicky was sent flying on that one. Gujar then hits the gargoyle spear off the middle rope for the 1-2-3. Your winner by pinfall and still undefeated in singles competition, Bhupendir Gujar. So great match there. I'm glad. I always pop for all of the Johnny Swinger stuff. So I'm never offended by, like, I know he's not gonna have a Matt classic. It's just gonna be good facial reactions and a lot of sports entertainment, old school kind of stuff. But it's all good in small doses. So Impact starts with a big. So now we're on regular Impact, official Impact. And it starts with a big recap of all the Violent by Design stuff that happened last week, which I already kind of explained. So then the Impact opening video plays, and then we see in the back about to come out for their match is Diener and Doering. They look worried, and Diener says that he has no idea where Eric Young is and that they might have to do this alone. So then the Violent by Design music hits, and Diener says, well, maybe this is the test. So let's go prove ourselves. And Doering seemingly agrees, slaps the chest of Diener, and they go out to make their entrance. So they make their entrance. Then the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelly and Chris Sabin, come out the real big cheers. Josh Alexander out next. Less cheers than the Guns for sure. And I definitely still wish that Doering had won the Impact title against all odds. I think not only would it keep the good it would keep Doering undefeated and we wouldn't have to burn it on a smaller pay-per-view. It also would have added more to the story. Maybe Eric Young would have been even more mad that Doering was able to get the title, but it still seemingly is a pretty good story. So the bell rings and Eric Young isn't out yet, but as soon as the bell rings, Violent by Design's music hits, and here comes Eric Young. He's wearing a War Machine, like Iron Man, but the white and silver version War Machine. Looked pretty cool. It's kind of silly that everyone's been acting like Eric Young's been gone for like half a year when it was only 2 weeks that he was missing. Come on, guys. People go missing for 2 weeks all the time on Impact. but they're making such a big deal out of it. I get that it's the story, but they're really acting like it's been about 6 months since we've seen them. Diener and Josh are going to start the match. Josh takes him down easily and then tags in Shelly while holding an arm lock. Shelly then takes the arm from Josh and hits some big moves, including hurting the arm of Diener. So tag in the Sabin now, and they hit a double team move on the arm of Diener. Diener's already in trouble and has a hurt arm, and the match has just started. So another arm hold by Sabin as he tags in Josh. Josh hits some big chops to Diener, and the crowd chants walking weapon. Diener's like big time trouble already. Josh then gets an ankle lock applied, but from outside the ring, Doering drags Diener all the way to the outside. While Josh was distracted, he eats a huge punch from EY, who was on the apron. Eric Young on the apron with a huge punch there. That looked pretty cool. The slap sounded really loud. So Doering now tags in, looks angrier than usual, of course, having just lost his undefeated streak. Doering wears out Josh, and then Diener tags in for a double team. They target Josh's surgically repaired neck, and then Eric Young tags in, and they double team the neck again. So Josh kicks out at 2. Doering tags back in. Another double team. Josh is now super isolated in the Violent by Design corner as the crowd super rallies behind Josh Alexander. Doering's able to maintain control with a big knee to the gut right when Josh was trying to fight out or fight back. And Diener tags in, hits a pretty good looking vertical suplex. Shelly tries to run in to stop this beatdown, and the referee stops him. Tag back to Doering now. Another double team. So I really did not see this coming. Josh is getting completely isolated and destroyed. The crowd's rallying big time behind Josh now as Doering works a neck submission. Josh fights back with big strikes and lifts Doering up, but can't keep him up there. Too much weight for Josh, who's just been beaten up. So Doering hits a massive, great looking running crossbody. Great stuff from Joe Doering. So Joe gets up, screams, yeah, and does a great pose, like, yeah, like really great stuff from Doering. I love the guy as we go to an ad break. So when we come back, Josh tags out right away. So we didn't get that was kind of weird. We didn't get to see any of the fight back or the comeback. It's just immediately when we come back, it's Josh making the tag. Anyway, Sabin tags in, and both guns hit big and quick double teams on everyone. Great Motor City Machine Guns double teams here. What they're known for, and some of the most legendary double teams in all of tag team wrestling history. And I'm not even just being facetious, and I'm not. Oh, okay, maybe I am biased because I'm from the Motor City, Detroit, but I still think there's some of the best double teams and revolutionized the tag division all throughout the world. Anyway, well, we do find out some big news when it comes to the guns later on for the main event next week. So stay tuned for that if you didn't see it. I'm super excited about that one. So again, the guns had just finally got the hot tag. We came back from the break. They're doing all kinds of double teams. Diener is the legal man and kicks out at 2 out of those big double teams. Sabin and Diener then both hit a crossbody at the same time, taking them both out. The crowd rallies behind Sabin. Both men tag out, so now it's Josh Alexander and Eric Young, a rematch from Slammiversary here. They both hit a clothesline at the same time and go down, then get up to kind of start a hockey fight, a big brawl, showing that they have a lot of intensity, that their feud isn't over. So Josh then hits a back body drop and a spear into the corner, right into a Northern Light suplex. Good little flurry there. Diener then has to come in to save Eric Young, but it doesn't work. Eric Young is able to escape an ankle lock after that right away, but Shelly got a blind tag during all of that. So Shelly comes in. Diener helps EY take control over Shelly. So double team move there. Eric Young then tags in Diener and says, "Prove it to me," to Diener. Motor City Machine Guns then hit a big double team on Diener, so Eric Young comes back in. EY gets taken out with a double team by the guns again. Doering now comes in, and Josh Alexander too, so they triple team Doering to knock him out of the ring. Sabin then dives right out of the ring onto Doering immediately after that. Great match here. Shelly and Diener are now in the ring. Shelly looks to and successfully locks in the Border City stretch. And while Josh also gets the ankle lock on Eric Young in the ring as well. But Diener is the legal man and taps out first. But Eric Young does tap out pretty much half a second right after Diener. So keep that little bit of info in the back of your memory going into next week, and we'll see what kind of things Eric Young says about this. And And Diener can always say, well, you tapped out too, kind of thing. But Eric can say, well, I wasn't the legal man. So we'll see where that goes. Keep that in the back of your mind. But your winners by submission are the Motor City Machine Guns and Josh Alexander. Pretty good tag team, or I mean, pretty good trios team here. If they do more trios things in the future. Pretty good team. So Sabin goes to hand the Impact World title to Josh Alexander, but then an epiphany comes over both Motor City Machine Guns. Sabin holds on to the title a little bit longer than he was going to, and they're, like I said, both staring at the title. So this gets resolved later on in the episode, and we are told it will be for the number one contendership in a match against Josh Alexander at Emergence, the next big event. It will be the Motor City Machine Guns versus each other, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin for the number one contendership in the main event of next week's Impact. I can't wait. I've been following these guys their whole career, and I've seen them live in other events other than Impact here in Detroit as well. So I love these guys. So it's going to be an epic main event match, probably even better than the epic one we had a few weeks ago between Shelly and Kaz. So this one definitely has Shelly versus Sabin next week. Definitely could be a match of the month contender, even though we've had a ton of great matches this month. So anyway, next will be James Storm and Steve Maclin. Also tonight, we're told these were already announced last week, but we were reminded that it's going to be Masha Slamovich versus Tenille Dashwood and Chelsea Green versus Mickey James. So then we go to an ad break. When we come back, it's back to the Killer Kelly vignette. So a little video here. We pick up right where we left off last week. So if you remember last week, we kind of left off on a cliffhanger. All we know so far is that Killer Kelly likes to hang out in old motels, seemingly kind of looks like a lady of the night or an SW. And we left last week with Kelly disrobing in the bathroom. Now we pick right up where the shot where we left off last week. We see Kelly enter the shower. Nothing is shown, of course, though. It's just like classily shot or whatever. So Kelly's like talking and in the background while all this is happening and says, for so long it felt so right. It puts me in the right headspace to study and feel. So then Kelly gets out of the shower, gets all dolled up after her shower, sips a cocktail, and then she says when she shows up, she'll be ready. So Kelly's now looking through a peephole in her motel room, and she sees two women, but we don't see their faces or what was going on. And then we end on another cliffhanger. So 2 straight weeks of cliffhangers for Killer Kelly. Pretty interesting stuff. And it just ends by saying coming soon. So I'm assuming we'll see a third vignette next week where we'll pick up and maybe we'll find out what were those two women outside of Killer Kelly's motel room was. So I'm excited about that. This is intriguing. I'm definitely excited to see Killer Kelly's debut. She was signed or like at least agreed to sign 2 years ago by Impact, but then Killer Kelly had visa issues that kept her in Europe. So Killer Kelly's been toiling away in the European independent scenes such as XWX and stuff like that in the meantime. So I'm definitely looking forward. I've definitely seen her, I think, in ROH before as well. So good stuff overall. And intriguing storyline for sure. So Maclin out next, a big booze from the crowd. And of course, James Storm, when he comes out, gets big cheers. He's got a beer in hand. James Storms instantly loses some credit from me because he sings along to his own music like a jabroni. Come on, Storm, you're better than that. But anyway, Maclin's got some pretty cool knee pads. On one of them it says tag him, and the other one says bag him. So I like that. Maclin starts the match strong and pokes the bear by making Storm mad right away. So this is going to be their first singles match against each other, at least in Impact, and at least that's what Tom told us. I didn't look it up myself. So Storm fires up. Remember, he just got mad, hits some running strikes. Storm does. Storm goes for the last call super kick already, but Maclin just bails the ring. Storm then hits an old school wind up punch from the 80s. So Storm losing credit fast here in a 5-minute span after I've watched him for 20 years. So I'm being a little dramatic, but still it was a little awkward. Anyway, we go to an ad break off of that. And when we come back, Maclin is hitting a massive backbreaker. Maclin then puts Storm across the ropes and mockingly rides Storm rodeo style like a bronco or a bull. That was pretty funny. Maclin even did the hand waving in the air type thing. So this fires up Storm even more, who then hits big punches and a running attack into another punch on Maclin. Maclin blocks on another attempt, but gets kicked in the back of the head anyway by Storm. Storm then hits a neck breaker for a 2 count. Storm then signals for something, and he puts a machine. He puts Maclin up on the top rope, hits a few punches, but Maclin's able to turn this around and get Storm caught in the Tree of Woe. Then Maclin gets down and hits a big spear into the Tree of Woe for a 2 count. Crowd is super loud chanting Cowboy now, and Maclin is has been beating a ton of good people lately that the announcers remind us of. So maybe this will be another feather in the cap of Maclin. Maclin now blocks the Eye of the Storm attempt, but Storm keeps control off of this, and a great counterattacking match throughout. Really good counterattacking wrestling. Storm now has Maclin up on the top rope again, and this time slapping the taste out of Maclin's mouth before doing anything. This buys enough time for Storm to get up and hit a top rope Hurricane Rana. That was pretty cool from the veteran. That's crazy to see. I remember when Scott Steiner was doing some Frankensteiners at the end of his career. I was always like, "Oh, that's crazy." But anyway, he comes off right off of that from the top rope with an elbow drop, but Maclin kicks out at 2. The crowd's chanting, "That was 3." Storm then comes back and hits a code breaker, but Maclin's able to block these last call super kick right after that. So Maclin kicks Storm off of a submission attempt. This kick had sent Storm's face first into an exposed turnbuckle. So just seconds before that submission attempt, Maclin had ripped the turnbuckle cover off. So good little ending here. This actually gets the 1, 2, 3 off of this exposed turnbuckle shot. So your winner by pinfall is Steve Maclin. Pretty good match here. Like I said, good counterattack wrestling. Maclin then celebrates when the lights go out. When the lights come back on, Sami Callihan is in the ring with a barbed wire bat. Remember, Maclin cost Sami Callihan the Ravens house work clock of House of Fun match. So Sami Callihan was coming to attack Maclin for revenge on that, but Maclin is able to outsmart Sami Callihan. When the lights come out, Sami Callihan's in the ring with a barbed wire bat, but Maclin's one step ahead of Sami. Maclin's already on the ramp and just leaves. So Sami yells, and we go to the next segment. So pretty good match, like I said, and no Moose these last couple of weeks. So hopefully Maclin and Moose aren't together, and this was just Maclin wanting a piece of Sami Callihan. Moose is totally cool on his own, and I think Moose would only be dragged down. Even though Maclin's been doing better and is on a run, I think Moose's coolness factor drops a lot if he's going to be associated with Maclin. So hopefully that doesn't happen. So for the second time, now we get the second edition for the second week in a row. It'll be the Ric Flair moment of the week. It was pretty awkward last week when we heard Tara's music playing in the background and stuff. So it's also kind of awkward this week as well. But this is all to hype up the Ric Flair last match. It's an event coming up later this month, I think, where there is going to be some Impact talent there, including an Impact World Title defense, Josh Alexander versus Jacob Fatu, who's been tearing it up in MLW. And if you're interested, I'll be doing an MLW review later tonight. It is their season finale, big title match, Hammerstone versus Holiday. So come check that out if you're interested. Anyway, in this Ric Flair highlight moment of the week, we see AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy are fighting on top of the lockdown cage. Ric Flair's music hits. Flair enters the cage despite not being a part of this lockdown match. Flair attacks Abyss, and then Hulk Hogan's music hits. Eric Bischoff is here too. So Eric gives brass knuckles to Hogan, and then Hogan destroys Flair with the knuckle dusters. Flair's now busted wide open, and this is completely weird to see on Impact in 2022. This is the era I stopped watching TNA because I could see the writing on the wall. The very first episode of the Bischoff Hogan era, I said, I'm out. Because I lived through the WCW era, and I could see the writing on the wall, episode 1. So eventually, and this highlight ends with Abyss pinning Desmond Wolfe, of all people. Hate to see it. So I think we have 2 more editions of these Ric Flair moments of the week, so those will be pretty interesting to see what we see next time. After the break, we're told it's going to be Mickie James versus Chelsea Green, with everyone else banned from ringside. But like I mentioned in last week's episode or review, it's pretty dumb that they never told them what the penalty is. We don't know what happens if you break that rule. Are you suspended for 2 weeks without pay? Are you never going to get a title shot again? Do you go to jail? they never threw out what would happen. So what there was never any interference in these matches, but they never told us what was truly preventing Chelsea or Deanna to come help each other. Like it was just super dumb. They could have just came up with any excuse. They could have said if you guys even go near ringside, the other person will get disqualified immediately. Like that's all they had to say. But they never said what the threat was, what the penalty was for breaking the rule, which is super dumb. Anyway, we come back and Motor City Machine Guns are talking to Scott D'Amore in the back. Sabin says that he felt something in his heart and soul when he held the Impact title earlier. Sabin says, I don't want to take credit for Josh Alexander winning the title, but I was the one that told Josh Alexander to use option C, so I think I should get a title shot. So D'Amore says, sure, but you have to earn it. And holy crap, like I've already said, Scott D'Amore sets up Motor City Machine Gun versus Motor City Machine Gun in next week's main event for the #1 contendership, Alex Shelley versus Chris Sabin. And both Motor City Machine Guns look happy. Looks like they're down for that, and I'm definitely down for that too. I'm a Detroit guy, so I don't even know who to root for in this one. Probably Shelly. I've always liked Shelly a little bit more, but that's going to be a great match. The winner will fight Josh Alexander for the Impact World title at Emergence, which is August 12th in Chicago. So Chelsea Green makes her entrance now to big boos. Mickey out to big cheers, of course, wearing a cute cowgirl outfit, kind of looking like the farmer's daughter version of whatever outfit she normally wears. So the announcers put over how this rivalry has been building for about 2 years now. So Chelsea Green starts the match out with a big kiss to Mickie James. So Mickie James kisses Chelsea Green right back. That's the kind of match we're going to get. I hated this match. I'm cool with kissing and stuff, but the match actually sucks. So let's get into it. A little throwback to Trish and Mickey, of course, with those kisses. Maybe we'll get the crotch grab later, but no, we didn't get that. A fight breaks out with some big strikes now. Right after that, showing intensity. That part was good. Chelsea starts strong, but Mickey's able to turn around quickly. Chelsea's lipstick is all smeared over her face from those 2 kisses. They cat fight roll almost out of the ring, but get caught on the ropes. Chelsea then baits in Mickey and then throws Mickey right out of the ring. Chelsea's wanting a count-out victory already, even though that would never work, but Chelsea smartly tries to baseball slide Mickey as soon as she stands up. Mickey sees it coming, dodges it, and sends Chelsea face first into the ring post. Then Mickey leaps right off the apron into a Luthez press, or the seated senton, whatever you want to call it. So Chelsea then turns it around when they get back in the ring with Chelsea. It's a terrible looking drop kick, only the first of many, many terrible moves from Chelsea Green in this match. Terrible match here. So Mickey was laying on the ground, and so it wasn't even like a full drop kick. It was like to a seated opponent kind of. So bad stuff here. Chelsea then works over the crowds for some more boos. Chelsea now works over the back of Mickie James and locks in a camel clutch. Mickey strikes her way out of that. Then Mickey dodges a strike into the corner, and then counters another and to get control. Mickey hits a running kick to the face of Chelsea for a 2 count. Mickey's now talking all kinds of trash to Chelsea while slamming her face first into the turnbuckle. Chelsea turns this around and mounts Mickie James for some absolutely god-awful punches from Chelsea. Really bad match from Chelsea here. Chelsea hits a lariat, then works over the crowd again. The crowd is super loud for this match anyway. Maybe they can't see as good as I can or just are into the rivalry. This rallies Mickie James, but Chelsea sloppily works a submission on the arms and back. Again, terrible looking moves from Chelsea in this match. Mickey then gets out of this, and now they're telling you can hear them tell each other what to do, taking you out of the match even more. So really terrible match here. Chelsea hits a bad looking pump kick for a 2 count, which is not good. Even the worst wrestlers in the world usually have a great looking pump kick, so this is an extremely bad match from Chelsea Green. Chelsea then curb stomps Mickey into the bottom turnbuckle, but Mickey holds the ropes and tells Chelsea holds open the ropes right after that and tells Mickey, get out of my ring. Mickey then hits a terrible spin kick herself to send Chelsea into the entrance mat. This match absolutely sucks. Mickey then crawls up the ramp, destroys Chelsea, but Chelsea has some fight in her still and throws Mickey back into the ring. super contrived counter next, and where Mickey hits a neck breaker out of it. This match can't even come close to touching Mia Yim versus Deonna Purrazzo last week. Then they exchange forearms. Mickey dodges one of them, then hits 3 lariats and a flapjack. Mickey nips up, and the crowd goes wild and chants Mickey. The crowd chants, "This is awesome," a little bit later, so they must love this match a lot more than I am. I'm burying this match. Mickey then goes to the top and hits a Luthez press, the seated senton, but doesn't go for the pin. She goes for the chick kick or the mick kick. It connects, but Chelsea grabs the rope to stop the pin count. So big mick kick hit there. Chelsea then hits the knee, and Mickey falls into the knee of Chelsea. That looked decent, the way that kind of came off. Chelsea then hits a stomp, but the referee stops the pin count because he noticed that Chelsea had a handful of Mickey James tights. So Mickey then counters an unprettier attempt after this with a roll up for a 2. Then Chelsea hits yet another terrible move. It was a terrible kick, pretty much missed the target completely. Mickey has to sell it anyway. Mickey then goes for the mick kick, but Chelsea rolls up Mickey James. Chelsea Green puts her feet on the ropes for the 1-2-3. Your winner by pinfall is Chelsea Green. Chelsea looks just as bad as she did 5, 6, 7 years ago, whenever it was that she was Laurel Van Ness. And maybe this is a one night thing. She didn't seem like this bad in the ladder match and stuff like that or the Queen of the Mountain match and the tag match that we also saw it Against All Odds. But in this match, I don't know what happened, but probably 8 to 9 terrible moves out of Chelsea Green, and it even affected Mickey James, who then had to sell nothing because one of the kicks missed, and Mickey James also had one of her worst spin kicks she's ever done. So just a terribly clunky match, absolutely terrible. But we go right from that to one of the things I was looking forward to the most this week, but it was kind of a letdown as well. But I do like where the story's going. So we see Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie in the back. Taya says, well, she put on her evil, pure evil black shirt because she wants to blend in. Rosemary says fashion won't matter in the undead realm. And Rosemary says, follow my directions to the letter. We get in, we get Havoc, and we get out. So then they go, they transport into the undead realm. It's just a cheap green screen of a spooky forest behind them. So that's kind of a letdown. Taya says that her GPS is no longer working. Where's north? Rosemary says there's no such thing as north here. Stick close and follow the light. So then they walk through the forest and a monster screams in the background. So Taya starts to freak out, then gets drawn to a bright white light. So Taya then goes into the light and then finds herself now in a white void. So again, just a green screen with white all around it in the white void. Taya says, all right, now this is more my vibe. So she seems to be happy to be out of the spooky forest into the white void, although I would be way more scared of a white void myself. Let me get a quick drink. So yeah, Ty is now in the white void, and she notices that Rosemary's not there. So, but then Havoc shows up behind Taya. Now we go back to the forest where Rosemary's now just noticing that Ty is gone, and Rosemary also goes into the white void. So Rosemary's all mad at Taya that she went off on her own, and then Rosemary sees Havoc from behind. So Rosemary walks over to Havoc. Taya walks in, and so time must be working different here because that's my best guess, because Taya and Havoc seemingly had been together for a while, maybe a couple of hours or a day. We don't know. But now Havoc's all smiling and happy. She's got pink hair. And Taya says, hey, I want you to meet Jessica. So then we go to an ad break. So again, really cheap and short. I was hoping for multiple segments throughout the night, 2, 3, maybe even 4 different segments. But no, it was just kind of a 2-minute, 3-minute long green screen segment. But I do like where they went with the story. So here's my best guess. I'm pretty sure when Rosemary went in, or I mean, when Taya went into the white void, time moved different within the white void than it did. So in reality, or where Rosemary was in the forest, only a few seconds passed, but that few seconds was enough for like a day to pass, maybe even longer than a day, for Taya Valkyrie and Havoc to talk about something. Now when Rosemary goes through the void a few seconds later, seemingly a lot of time has passed in the white void, and now Taya, Valkyrie, and Havok are friends. Taya and Valkyrie says, "Welcome. I want you to meet Jessica." So, which is Jessica Havok's her name, but she's just been going by Havok for a while. So, um, it's either that or the reason that Havok's been missing this whole time is because she had already transformed into this Jessica happier, cheerier, smiling version of herself, and that's why she never came out of the white void, because she liked what was happening. So it's either that or the whole time thing where Taya's now corrupted Havok into being like a, I don't know, um a Taya clone almost. So pretty interesting to see what happens going forward. Like I said, I was a little disappointed it was just some cheap green screen that didn't last very long, because that was one of the things I was looking forward to the most tonight. But I do like the story; it's intriguing. So I got two different women's stories that are well, I guess three intriguing women's stories in the background right now. So Impact showing exactly take notes, AEW and WWE, because it's easy if you want to have a women's division and give them stories that don't involve the championship. We've got Havok with this whole thing, and they're trying to find Havok when in the void. We've also got the influencers being stalked by Masha Slamovich, and then we've also got the Killer Kelly whole story thing. We don't know where that's going to lead. So I'm probably even missing out on a couple that don't involve the title, like well, I guess the Chelsea Green and the Mickey James rivalry. So there's a lot in the that WWE and AEW can take notes for how to run your women's division. That's for damn sure. So I'm definitely looking forward to see what happens with Jessica. I guess we'll call her now, Jessica Havok. So when we come back from break, we see Gujar beating Swinger on BTI. And now Gujar's in the back telling Brian Myers that he's ready for his title match. Brian says, "Well, it's not that easy, my friend. Find me when you've got the blue check mark." So a little social media joke there about being the blue check mark. If you don't know, means you're verified on different social media platforms as being um, a celebrity or a person of note or someone that they can verify. I think all you need is, like, if you get your name in the paper or something like that, that you can try and apply for verification, because now it's like written in documents that you are who you are, or something along those lines. But Tenille Dashwood now comes out with Giselle Shaw and Madison Rain. Tenille's scared out of her mind after getting the envelope of doom, if you want to call it that, from Masha Slamovich, where Tenille asks what this means. And last week, Giselle told Tenille that it means Masha Slamovich wants to end your life. So of course, Tenille's scared. So Masha Slamovich comes out to big cheers. She's got an 11-0 record in Impact. So Tenille's got a huge up-road battle ahead of her here. The crowd chants, "Masha is going to kill you," which added some spice to this match, especially with what Giselle said last week. Masha then starts the match with a spinning back fist that knocks Tenille right out of the ring. That looked nasty. Tenille then hits a back elbow, but Masha just comes right back with a dragon screw leg whip. Masha's hair looks great here. It's like I don't know, like a dinosaur almost. It has like spikes going throughout it. Masha then hits the snowplow immediately after that for the 1-2-3 while staring through Madison Rain's soul. So super easy win here for Masha Slamovich. The match was completely won before the bell even rang because Tenille wasn't focused. She was scared out of her mind. So Masha then, she doesn't say, but she says through her fingers basically that 1 down, 2 to go. So looks like Masha Slamovich next target will be Madison Rain, and then before she returns to her original target, Giselle Shaw. So if you remember, Giselle Shaw basically joined the influencers because she wanted backup, but seemingly Giselle didn't help her backup by scaring Madison Rain for an entire week, saying Masha was gonna end her life. So I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but it looks like eventually it'll lead to a Giselle Shaw Masha Slamovich match. Maybe that's where Masha loses her first match in Impact. Maybe with the influencers' help, you know. So then we see a recap of Violent by Design taking out Speedball Mike Bailey and Alan Angels after their great match last week, where Alan Angels debuted and they had a great X Division title match. So now we go from that to in the back. Gia is with Mike Bailey. Gia asks about the attack. Mike says, "Well, I've been thinking about Diener a lot. The way Diener went about things was wrong. If he wants to fight me, I'd be more than happy to fight him. We'll have a match next week." And Speedball isn't very good at his promos, but he's only going to get better by having more of them, so I'm fine with it. Have him cut a promo every other week, and then the other weeks have him defend the title. So defend the title one week, have a banger match, then the next week have a promo about your next banger match that's going to be the next week, so on and so forth. Do it for a full year, every single day, every single week. Do that for a year, and you'll have like the biggest star in wrestling. I'm telling you. And by the end of that year, Speedball's gonna get improved at his promos. Super heavy Canadian accent on Speedball, Mike Bailey as well, which is kind of funny. But I'm so far north, I can drive 20 minutes south. Yes, south, and hit Canada here in Detroit. That's how north I am. So I basically share the same. I have way more culture similarities with Canadians than I do like Alabamians or something like that, Texans. So when we come back from break, Mickey James is all sad. Gia wants to ask her like what happened and stuff, but Mickey just says, "I'm leaving. I want to go home." So Mickey James is completely deflated from that loss, even though it was with feet on the ropes. So, like kind of awkward, but I guess a wrestler would just kind of think of it as a loss is a loss. So Mickey James heading home to go think things over. So maybe we won't see Mickey James for a few weeks, maybe a month or two. I would say give her a couple months break. I haven't been enjoying the Mickey James stuff this last month or so. So next week on Impact, we will be seeing Speedball Mike Bailey defending his X Division title against Diener, which will be a true test for Mike Bailey to see if he can pull a banger match out of Diener. No offense to Diener, but I don't think of banger matches when I think of Diener. He's a good hand, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe he just hadn't been given the chance. So then Deonna Purrazzo versus Chelsea Green. Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green are going to take on Mia Yim and Jordan Grace, who, of course, Mia Yim and Jordan Grace are going to be having the Knockouts title fight at Emergence. So expect shenanigans there. Maybe another match where Jordan Grace accidentally hits her tag partner. So we'll see if we get a repeat of that. Also, of course, next week's main event is Alex Shelley versus Chris Sabin for the number one contendership. Winner fights Josh Alexander for the Impact World title at Emergence. Can't wait for that one. Going to be amazing. So it's time for our main event. Honor No More come out, and I can't even, I can honestly say I didn't think of or even remember that Honor No More even existed until this very moment. So we're like at the, so if you count BTI, where I watched that as well, like 2 hours had passed and I never once thought about or remembered Honor No More existed. Anyway, when they come out here for the main event, if you remember, they set up a match last week, which I forgot, but it was a match between Bullet Club and Honor No More. So Heath makes another sneak attack during the Honor No More entrance, catching Vincent by himself on the entrance ramp while the other guys were further ahead. So now 2 straight weeks of hit and runs from Heath. That is Heath Slater if you're new to Impact. And I completely forgot this match was set up last week. We know that Bullet Club will be the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, Chris Bay, and then Ace Austin as well. But we don't know which members of Honor No More will compete. So then we go to an ad break with Honor No More trying to but failing to catch Heath, who runs out the crowd again for the second straight week. So we've got Heath is the Honor No More hunter. After the break, we do see that it's Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Eddie Edwards, and Kenny King will be the foursome. So Bullet Club make their entrance. Pretty good foursome here from Bullet Club. It's kind of a perfect blend of speed, size, youth, and experience, captained by Carl Anderson, who's a legend of the tag division scene throughout the world. So great foursome here by Bullet Club. Chris Bay will start the match against Eddie Edwards. Eddie hits a shoulder tackle, but Bay then uses his agility to avoid about 3 or 4 attacks in a row here. Great start to the match. Eddie tags out. I wrote Eddie to Eddie, but I think Eddie tagged out the Kenny King. Chris Bay then tags in Ace Austin. They hit some now great looking double team moves on Kenny King. Again, I must say, please give us an X Division tag division. just keep the X Division title on Mike Bailey. Like I said, do that thing where he defends the title every other week. Have Mike Bailey retain that title for like almost a full year. In the meantime, we can introduce X Division tag titles, and when they're not losing the Mike Bailey, they can have tag matches for the titles and stuff like that. I think that would be amazing. So anyway, Kenny then hits a Capuara kick and then tags in Taven. Two guys that love purple are in the ring now, Ace Austin and Matt Taven. Taven immediately attacks in Mike Bennett, and their double team move backfires when Taven hits Bennett. So Bullet Club now all four rush the ring, clear out all four members of Honor No More as we go to an ad break with Bullet Club posing, throwing up the two sweets in the ring as we go to ad break. So it's basically like the longest ad break of the night, which is I see Impact, a little bit of dirty track tactic here, putting the longest ad break in the middle of the main event. But oh well, anything to give Impact some more money is good. So when we eventually come back an hour later after this ad break, Ace Austin's in control on Matt Taven. Carl Anderson then tags in, and Tom calls him the new Impact champ, which Matt gets really mad about. Remember, he's a Deonna Purrazzo guy. So Gallows now tags in, and the Good Brothers double team Taven. And I just got an idea in my head that I would love to see Heath in Bullet Club. Imagine Heath in Bullet Club in Japan. That would be amazing. And I think Japan would love Heath way more than Heath would be way better than Chase Owens, that's for sure. Gallows then dominates Taven, then tags in Chris Bay. Gallows slams Bay into Taven for a leg drop. That looked pretty cool. Taven tries to fight back, but makes a mistake by not running the tag out because Taven was pretty um, worn out at this point. So Bay counters his attack to keep control. Bay counters another attack and takes out the rest of the Honor No More who are on the apron. Then a terribly contrived spot where Eddie kicks Bay. Worst spot of this match by far, but pretty decent match other than that. Way better than that crap that Chelsea Green was out there doing earlier. This allows Taven to finally tag out. Kenny King's now in. King and Bay counter each other for a while until King is able to lock in a single leg Boston Crab. That was a great little flurry in this match. Eddie now tags in and goes to work on Bay. The crowd's chanting Bullet Club. Bullet Club are the ultimate tweener faction in the entire world. Depending on what you need, they can be heel or face without ever changing their style at all. Great stuff. The ultimate tweeners in wrestling. So the OG Kingdom double team Chris Bay for some nice moves now. Maybe add OGK to the X Division tag division as well if we ever get that. That's Taven and Bennett from the Kingdom. So Bay then counters Eddie twice and tags out the Carl Anderson, but the ref was distracted. So by Honor No More. So he did not see the tag. The referee forces Anderson to go back to the apron. So Chris Bay is still stuck in there. The crowd chants, "You suck," to the referee and maybe Honor No More as well, but I'm pretty sure it was to the ref. Honor No More then go back to quick tags and isolate Chris Bay for a while here. Bay is able to counter a triple team move, eventually getting thrown out. Thrown by one guy into another guy, but Hurricane Ronning that other guy. It looked really sweet. Kind of reminded me of what I wanted to see on Dynamite last week. I wanted to see a massive Beal from Keith Lee from one of the Young Bucks into a move, but I kind of get that here on Impact tonight with this cool move here. Anderson now gets the hot tag off of that Chris Bay Hurricane Rana. Chris Bay is finally able to get out. Anderson takes out everybody. So in the ring with Anderson is Taven, who eats a massive running senton from Anderson. Then Anderson counters a corner attack with a big boot and hits a middle rope neck breaker on Taven. Anderson now tags in Gallows, and everyone rushes into the ring. So then we get the tag Claxton calls, as Simon would say, and everyone eats a big move from each other until Gallows is alone standing after that flurry. Good again. Anytime that happens where everyone comes in and hits all their big moves on each other, it always looks great, and it's never boring. So Anderson's now back up. They're looking for the magic killer, the Good Brothers are, but Maria comes in, low blows Gallows behind the referee's back. Then Honor No More come back into the ring. They all take apart the Good Brothers. Taven hits the Aurora Borealis from the top rope for the 1, 2, 3. Your winners by pinfall are Honor No More. And OGK just pinned the Impact Tag Team Champions, so that should grant Taven and Bennett a title shot in the future. So Honor No More celebrate getting back in the win column after a couple disappointing events at Slammiversary and Against All Odds, and Impact ends on that note. So Definitely not as good as last week. Last week had just nothing but bangers. Every match hit last week. Pretty much 3 great X Division matches last week, because I would even count PCO versus Taurus as an X Division match, and then that amazing knockout women main event between Mia Yim and um, who was it? Deanna Purrazzo. So last week was way better. This week was definitely brought down by Chelsea Green. I don't ever want to see Chelsea Green in the ring again. Like I said, maybe this was a one night thing, but if she's going to be like that in the ring, I don't ever want to see her again. And she even made she brought Mickey James down to her level. It was so bad. I did like the trios team. If we ever need a trios team to go forward, Josh Alexander and the Motor City Machine Guns are a great trios team. And boy, I can't wait for next week's main event: Motor City Machine Guns versus Motor City Machine Guns. Chris Sabin versus Alex Shelley for the #1 contendership. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it'll also be, let me find it real quick. Let me see what else was scheduled for next week. So it's going to be Mike Bailey versus Diener for the X Division title next week as well. So we've got an X Division title match and a #1 contendership for the Impact World title. It's really gonna be good. So we'll also see Deanna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green. So hopefully Chelsea can have bounce back and have a better match here. Mia Yim and Jordan Grace will be their opponents, and maybe, just maybe, the person. And I have not been feeling Mickey James this last month or two. So maybe it was Mickey James' fault that Chelsea was so bad in that match, but I doubt it. I mean, Chelsea Green was missing kicks altogether, where Mickey had to sell nothing, and just in general botching almost every move she had. So, but maybe there's just some weird chemistry there. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week. So don't miss that out. And don't forget, tomorrow and Saturday are 2 different Derby City events, Derby City Rumbles, or I think they're called. And Kushida will be making his Impact debut. So we might get to see the Time Splitters reunion of Kushida and Alex Shelley, maybe against Sabin and an opponent of his choosing, maybe Sabin and Kazarian or something, to set up next week's main event. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm also really looking forward to see where we go with this Jessica thing. Remember, Jessica Havok is her full name. So now apparently she's no longer Havok. She's Jessica. She's got bright pink hair and she smiles all big. So really interested. To me, it was Taya Valkyrie corrupting the mind. So we've been feeling weird about Taya Valkyrie, like not weird, but like um does anybody really trust that Ty Valkyrie wants to be friends and tag partners with Rosemary? There had to have been an ulterior motive, and I think we found out our ulterior motive now. So the motive was that Ty Valkyrie wanted to get access to the undead realm and see what she could do about, maybe she already figured she could corrupt Havoc, or maybe Taya knows more than she's letting on. So seemingly Taya Valkyrie was able to corrupt Havoc, and now I'm guessing we'll see Taya Valkyrie and Jessica, as she's called now, against Rosemary in the future. So maybe Rosemary will have to go find someone else, maybe from the undead realm, to help her. That'd be a good way to debut a new woman. I know we already got Killer Kelly coming in with her own gimmick and storyline, but if there is a new woman they want to debut, maybe they could go back into the undead realm and just find some random, not some random, but a debuting woman for the Knockouts division to then fight with Rosemary against Taya and Jessica, as she's now called. So that could be pretty cool going forward. And I'm really looking forward to finding out more about the Killer Kelly stuff. I'm assuming the vignette will pick right up where we left off this week, because that's what happened. We picked up right where we left off last week, this week. So this week we left off on her looking out of her motel room and seeing 2 women walk by. So I'm still interested to see what's going on with that. My first thought was that she was an SW or a Lady of the Night, but this week didn't really give me those vibes as much. So we'll just have to wait and see what goes on with that. And I'm not quite sure when I'll be able to review Derby City Rumble or whatever it's called, but Derby City Riot, I think is what it is. But it's a 2-day event tomorrow and Saturday, but also G1 starts tomorrow. So my schedule is going to be packed, but I promise you I will have those reviews out for Derby City right at some point, maybe all the way until Sunday. It might take me, but I'll do my best. So thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna get going and check out my page. As soon as I get off of this review, I'm about to go watch the season finale of MLW Major League Wrestling, where we've got a huge title match between world champion Hammerstone against Holiday. So that's going to be a great match. So in a couple of hours or an hour or so, I'll have the review up or I'll go live with the review of MLW if you're interested in that. So I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for tuning in and have a great one. Peace.